Leah was reading.
Leah,
Yeah.
Henley, and okay, they all read. They all have been reading.
Oh, good, because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, I want to encourage more people to read. Excellent. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I encourage whoever is convenient to read, just take turn to read, because reading is different from
it's very different.
simply listening. When I read something, I can be more immersed into the message.
Yeah. It's just, anyway, it's just nice to have everyone participate.
Yeah.
And
so I have to kind of give a time and
okay, but I just want to say, just so I know, so you recorded the reading and then you stopped to talk to me, and now you're going to start again.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I don't want the recording file too big, and also
no, you're so great. You do everything perfectly.
And also now I can record at VOV, because VOV has better function in transcribing. So that's why, before I lost this conference room, but now I found it back. That's why I convert back to VOV. So I'm sorry for keep switching back and forth.
Oh, you switch all you want.
Zoom and VOV.
It doesn't bother me. Do we have anyone on Zoom today?
Yes, there are 4 people over there, but I keep both screen share and voice, so they can hear whatever we are talking about at VOV.
Oh,
so
great.
it's
You're so brilliant. You're so brilliant.
So now I'm more and more self-sufficient, so and also relaxed, so I can manipulate both platforms by myself.
Okay. All right, I'll shut up now.
Okay, today, November 9th, 2023. So it's our 30 seconds session reading Russian book with Heidi. We keep reading paper 110, Relation of Adjusters to Individual Mortals, section 6, 7, Psychic Circles. We have read the Chinese section, so I won't repeat the Chinese statement. So go ahead, Heidi.
Okay. And I'll say just repeat that. We're reading that. We're getting towards the end of the thought adjuster section, and I was just thinking today how exciting it's. I was thinking a lot about Jesus for the last couple days, and I was thinking how exciting it's going to be, because a lot of people here don't really know the Jesus story, right?
他说这太好了，这个星期我持续的在想这个耶稣，那么是不是听众当中就是很少有人知道这个耶稣啊？Yeah, I guess because our culture does not.
Yeah, I mean, most of you don't really. Yeah, I mean, you know who he is, but you don't really know his story. Is that right?
他说：“那大概我们都知道耶稣是谁，但是很少知道他的故事。I guess so. Yes.
So that what's going. I just realized that to read his story for the first time is going to be so much fun. You guys don't know what you're in for. This is the greatest story ever told.
他说哈，就是那个了解他的故事哈，是非常的激动人心的一件事情。你真的是不知道你踏入了一个什么境界，就是他就是说表达他的激动的心情，就是带领大家一起读耶稣的故事。
I've read it a number of times, and I can't wait to read it again.
他说我已经读了好几遍了，但是呢，我还是跃跃欲试的，也想跟大家到时候再一起再读重读。
But we have to read it. We have to finish up these other papers first. So okay,
我们要先完成其他的那个 就是第三部分啊，《与海蒂读玉书》第三部分的。然后呢，我们就开始读耶稣的故事。
And we're about to finish. We're about to finish. Are we about to finish paper 1? Yeah, we're about to finish paper 110, relation of adjusters to individual mortals. And we're starting number 6 today, the 7 psychic circles, which is a very, very interesting thing to read about.
对，那么今天我们读这个110篇的第6部分是7个心灵圆圈，是非常非常棒的一篇。
Okay, seven psychic circles. The sum total of personality.
Hold on, I'm asking Zoom. 那个在 Zoom 上的伙伴，就是你们听声音还可以吗？声音够大吗？能听清楚吗？就是Heidi在那个腾讯会议这边的声音，你们能听得见吗？可以开麦告诉我一下。
听得到，听得到。
哎，太好了。好的，谢谢。对，这边要是屏幕 share 就是有点滑的慢了，你要也提醒我一下，就开麦就好了，因为我我用2个机子在弄，有的时候不一定照顾得很好哈，伙伴们多帮忙。OK， 好的 ，OK，keep going on。
Oh, do you need to translate something to me or not?
No, I'm just reminding the Zoom audience that, remind me if I didn't scroll the screen in a timely manner.
Okay. I just have to let my cat out. I taught him to ring a bell and he just.
Yeah, you take it easy.
Okay, I'm back. I don't know if anyone prayed for my cat last week to get better, but after our meeting, he was better. He got so much better that day.
上一次吧哈，Heidi 告诉我们他的那个另外一只猫哈生病了，病得挺厉害的。他说请求大家为他祷告。他说不知道有没有人为他祷告。他说但是那一次会后，哎，他的确变得好多了。
And he's getting a little better every day.
一天一天的好起来了。
And I have these bells hanging on my door, and he now knows how to ring them. He rings the bells when he wants to go outside.
他的门口哈挂一个铃铛，他说他现在知道他每次出去他要摇铃。That's
Okay.
smart.
Yeah, well, I put him there for the dog. I was hoping the dog would learn, but he never caught on. But Mo, my cat caught on. One cat caught on.
Oh.
So I was just sitting here about to read, and I heard the little bells ringing.
他说本来那是为他的狗准备的，但是他这个猫他也会现在会摇铃了。他说他刚开始读的时候，那个猫摇铃了，所以他出去看了一下。Wow,
So cute.
The cat is smarter than the dog.
In that way, yes. Well, maybe in all ways, but definitely in that way.
他说是啊，有可能是那个猫比那狗要聪明。
He's definitely the boss. That cat is the boss of all of us. The dog behaves, obeys that cat.
他说那个猫哈，好像比狗比我们聪明。他说现在那个猫是那个老板。
Okay. So now that we have that, now that we have my little family hierarchy out of the way.
他说现在这个家庭里边的权力级别很清楚了。
I'm at the bottom of the totem pole.
他说他是在最底层的，在这个权力的柱子上，他是最底层的。
Okay. The sum total of personality. Oh, this is going to be so cool. Hey, stop, shush. The sum total of personality realization on the material world. Hey, come here. Sorry. The sum, he wants to read. He wants to read the.
Yeah, before she behaved so well before, she's just sitting on the mat under your desk. So we can see him very well. Today, what's wrong with him?
He wants to read about the 7 psychic circles.
哦，他说他想也要读7个心灵圆圈儿，说他的狗。
Okay, the sum total of personality realization on the material world is contained within the successive conquest of the 7 psychic circles of mortal potentiality. Entrance upon the 7th circle marks the beginning of true human personality function. Completion, completion of the 1st circle denotes the relative maturity of the mortal being. Though the traversal of the 7 circles of cosmic growth does not equal fusion with the adjuster, the mastery of these circles marks the attainment of those steps which are preliminary to adjuster fusion. Are you going to translate? You're not going to translate, right? Because you already read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
already read that.
Okay, so I'll just have a comment,
Yeah.
which would be 2 things. One is you're only going to get this information about the 7 psychic circles in the Urantia book. Nowhere else will you read this.
他说这个关于7个心灵圆圈的论述是你只有在月亮下之书当中才能读到的，没有其他的灵性资料提到这个。
You might read some sort of similar things here and there, but this is the real business. This is the real stuff right here. This is the source. You're only going to get this here.
他就说你可能在其他的灵性资料当中读过类似的一点点的这个信息，但是呢，这个是让夏之说是把这个说的很清楚的，是一个很那个很基础资料的这个信息。
And then just briefly, you start with the 7th circle and you work your way to the 1st circle.
你这个进化的历程呢，从第7个开始，然后慢慢的上往第1个去进展。
And when you reach the 1st circle, you're still not ready to fuse with your adjuster, but the attainment of all 7 psychic circles are necessary before you can fuse.
那你达到第1个之后，可能还没有完全的准备好去跟思想调整者融合，但是呢，你已经就是相当于就是已经这个成就了这个跟他融合的这个最基本的这个步骤。
Most people at this era, later when the planet settled in light and life, most people will achieve all 7. But at this era on our planet, most people won't achieve all 7 in this first lifetime.
那么，如果当那个地球铆定在光与生命当中的时候，大概很多人会在这个凡人生活当中这个完成7个圈的成就，但是在现在的这个地球。 就是很多人在这个凡人的这一世生活当中，可能很难完成这7个圈。
But it doesn't matter because the achievement of psychic circles are not necessary to get into the Marancha worlds.
这个没有关系，因为这个完成7个圈，并不是说就是说是进入宅下世界的一个必要的必然的步骤。
Okay, so the
条件。
The adjuster is your second paragraph. The adjuster is your equal partner in the attainment of the 7 circles, the achievement of comparative mortal maturity. The adjuster ascends the circles with you from the 7th to the 1st, but progresses to the status of supremacy and self-activity quite independent of the active cooperation of the mortal mind. So what they're saying here is that the 7 circles are really for the mortal to achieve, and the adjuster helps us achieve them, but they have nothing to do with the adjuster acquiring the experience to progress to supremacy or self-activity, meaning to become a self-acting adjuster. It has nothing to do with that. That the sevens, the adjuster helps us, but this isn't something they have to achieve. It's something we have to achieve.
对，他就说这个达到这个从7个圈儿到第1个圈儿哈，他这个是信仰调整者，和我们凡人都是一起共同合作达成的。
I mean, it is part of the adjuster's goal to help us achieve all 7, but it's not, you know, it's really it's no reflection on the adjuster whether we do or not. It you know, as long as he does his job trying to help us, he's achieved his goal. If we don't achieve him, it doesn't reflect badly on him.
对，那不是，那就是实际上他说这个是独立于凡人心智的积极合作，是信仰调整者的成就，帮助我们从第7层达到第1层。
Okay.
他是说，so there are cooperation side and also independent of our cooperation side, right? On one hand, he need our cooperation. On the
No.
other hand,
Oh, the adjuster needs our cooperate. No, he doesn't need us for anything. We need his help to achieve the circles because they're our achievement, not his. In other words, we shouldn't get confused because an adjuster has their own goals. They want to become supreme adjusters. But what they're saying is don't think these 7 circles have anything to do with their goals, their achievements. They're separate. This is our achievements, but they help us.
他说这个从第7层到第1层是我们的成就，他帮助我们达成我们的成就，但是只是说最后一句，他说他发展到至高性和自发的状态，到最后这个，他是我独立于凡人心智的，积极合作。
Because it says they progress to supremacy and self-activity quite independent of the active cooperation of the mortal mind, but that's because it's our will, how much we want to cooperate with the adjuster. They never interfere with our will. So that can't possibly have any effect on their progress because it's our will. They can't control it. So just they can help us achieve the 7 circles. It's like they do. We couldn't achieve them without them. But it's our will to achieve them or not. But anything the goals of an adjuster to become a supreme adjuster, a self-acting adjuster. These are evolutionary goals for an adjuster in their career, but it's never reliant on human cooperation because that's our will. So they can't control it. So it has nothing to do with their progress. Does that make sense?
第一就是在这心灵圆圈这个层次上，就是从低到高的进步，他来帮助我们达成这个目标，但是他自己有他自己的进化的目标，那么他发展到至高性和自发的状态，那么这一点是他自己的目标，他就完全独立于凡人心智的积极合作，这是两个方面啊。Yeah, so our goal 就是他的就是在他帮助我们达成的这一部分，他是要尊重我们的自由意志的，但是在他自己的这个目标方面，他是独立于凡人心智的积极合作的，这是两个方面。Yeah.
Okay. The third paragraph. The psychic circles are not exclusive of this. Okay, the psychic circles are not exclusively intellectual. Neither are they wholly morontial. They have to do with personality status, mind attainment, soul growth, and adjuster attunement. The successful traversal of these levels demands the harmonious functioning of the entire personality, not merely of some one phase thereof. The growth of the parts does not equal the true maturation of the whole. The parts really grow in proportion to the expansion of the entire self, the whole self, material, intellectual, and spiritual. So last week I mentioned the psychic circles, and I said they have to do with a good way to think of them is to think of most people aren't really very balanced. They have good qualities, bad qualities, strengths, weaknesses. They're really smart, but they're not very spiritual. They're very spiritual, but they're not very logical. They're too emotional, and it gets in the way of their intellectual decision making. That's all imbalanced. They may have great gifts. They may be the most fun person in the world to go to a party with. They may be your best friend, but they're not necessarily. We're not achieving balance is very difficult. This when you achieve the 7 psychic circles, you become very balanced intellectually, spiritually, and morontially, which is your soul growth.
他这一段就是第11063这一段，强调我们呢就是要整个的全我各个方面物质的质性的灵性各个方面的一个平衡，整个人格各个方面的一种平衡。那么我们大部分人呢，就是相当于就是很少有这种很那个平衡的啊，有可能是智性方面很聪明啊，但是缺乏灵性。或者是很那个，很符合逻辑的，对，很逻辑化，但是呢，就是感性不足，或者是就是有的人就是很情绪化啊，也是智性方面不够，所以呢，有些人可能就是跟他去，欢乐时光可能很那个。给人带来快乐，但是呢，就是也灵性也不够，所以那个很难达到各个方面的一个很协调整体的这种发展，全我的发展。
And then the last sentence is very interesting because it's very interesting because and very strange. I'll read the sentence first and then I'll break it down. The growth of the parts does not equal the true maturation of the whole. Okay, fine. The parts really grow in proportion to the expansion of the entire self of the whole. Well, so in a way that sentence seems to contradict itself, but it doesn't.
好的。他就是现在集中在最后一句这一段最后一句，他说是非常的有意思最后一句说，局部的成长并不等于整体的真正成熟，局部的成长实际上与整个自我的扩展成正比，整个自我及全我包含物质、智性和灵性他说这一句上半和下半句似乎有一点矛盾。
I think what this is saying is that you may be growing spiritually, like maybe by reading the Urantia book or by praying a lot, but that doesn't mean your whole personality is maturing. They talk about personality maturation, maturing as what I'm saying is achieving balance. They're calling it maturing, right? I'm saying it one way, they're saying it another. I'm just trying to make it easier to understand for us to, for
Yeah.
me to understand.
他就说你可能发展出灵性能力，就是读玉书啊，只跟神祷告啊，但这并不等于说你的整个的全人的人格就是就是更成熟啊，或者是就是达到了成熟。
So they're saying you may be an intellectual genius, but not a mature personality.
对，你可能智性上那个这是天才，很棒，但是呢，你的人格就是不一定多么成熟。
You may have great soul insight. You may have like that's like Marancha insight. That's like true philosophical thinking. But you may be very immature emotionally.
嗯哼，他就说你可能就是达到了灵智，你的灵魂哈，灵魂的这个洞见哈，达到一些灵智性的那个看见，但是呢，并且非常的富有哲理哈，但是呢，你可能情绪方面并不成熟，并不稳定。
This is actually this imbalance is actually very common.
这种的方面的不协调其实是非常普遍的。
And sometimes I've noticed in my life, I don't know if you've noticed it, and I don't know if I'm right or not, but I've noticed that people with exceptional qualities, like very artistic or very talented, or very creative or mathematical, often have major deficits in other aspects of their personality.
对，在我的这个生活当中，根据我的观察，有一些人有非常非常出色的这个艺术天分呐，非常的这个天赋异禀啊，就是很有创造力啊，或者数学方面很优秀啊，他们就是人格方面有很明显的缺陷。
Not always, but sometimes, often.
不是总是，但是有的时候，并且经常会这样。
For example, great artists, really talented artists, are more prone to depression than average people.
比如说那个艺术天分的人呢，他们往往更倾向于就是有一些抑郁症。
That's probably due to this imbalance, an inherent imbalance in their personality.
他说这有可能就是体现他们人格的一种不平衡。
Okay, so that's the first part of the sentence. The second part is, but the parts really grow in proportion to the expansion of the entire self. The whole self, material. So they're saying, even though the whole self, you don't get mature by just developing one section. As you mature, the separate sections do grow more. That's what it's saying. It's tricky.
然后呢，这一句的第二部分，局部的成长实际上与整个自我的扩展成正比。那就是说，当你的人格进一步的成熟扩展的时候，实际上它是有助于你的局部的这些方面的成长，比如说这个物质啊、智性啊、灵性的各个方面的成长。
So if we know this, then it makes more sense for us to focus on being a balanced, mature personality rather than developing these different areas individually.
那我们了解到这一点的时候，就是说，会把我们努力的方向呢，就是在平衡的各个方面一个平衡的一个发展啊，这是人格成熟这个的一个关键。
In other words, in other words, if you want to be a great singer, if you focus on developing a balanced, well-adjusted, mature personality, your singing will improve.
他说，比如说，如果你想成为一个出色的歌唱家，那么你要集中在就是说发展出一个平衡的调整良好的这个人格整个的这个全人的这个素质上面的时候，你可能会就是说表现的会更好，就是对你的歌唱技能会很有帮助。
But if you become a fanatic about singing and you just focus so much on singing and you neglect other parts of your personality, yeah, you'll become you may become a good singer, but you won't also be developing a balanced personality at the same time.
对，但是如果你对这个唱歌就是太狂热而忽视你的人格发展的其他的方面，那么到最后他也会限制你成为一个优秀的歌唱家。
So basically, the wise approach is not to become a fanatic about anything.
他说这个比较明智的说法，比较明智的选择是你不要就是在任何一个方面去狂热。
And that's very hard advice for me to take.
他说对我来说也很难去采纳这样的一个建议。
My personality is just to get completely absorbed with one thing for years at a time.
对我来说，我就很容易被一方面全部的沉浸和吸收进去，沉浸在里边好几年无法自拔。
And I advise other people not to do that.
但是呢，我建议别人不要这样。
Okay, so now the next paragraph. When the development of the intellectual nature proceeds faster than that of the spiritual, such a situation renders communication with the thought adjuster both difficult and dangerous. Likewise, over spiritual development tends to produce a fanatical and perverted interpretation of the spirit leadings of the divine indweller. Lack of spiritual capacity makes it very difficult to transmit to such a material intellect the spiritual truths resident in the higher superconsciousness. It is to the mind of perfect poise, housed in a body of clean habits, stabilized neural energies, and balanced chemical function, when the physical, mental, and spiritual powers are in triune harmony of development, that a maximum of light and truth can be imparted with a minimum of temporal danger or risk to the real welfare of such a being. By such a balanced growth does man ascend the circles of planetary progression, one by one, from the 7th to the 1st. So
对，这一段比较长，大家可以看那个右边的中文。刚才我们中文读过了。
What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm reminding people that you can refer to the right side for Chinese.
Okay.
This long paragraph.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So well, I'll just take it beginning to end. Wait, there was something. Okay, I'll just take it from that. When the development of the intellectual nature proceeds faster than that of the intellectual nature proceeds faster than that of the spiritual. Okay, well, what they're saying, first of all, they're saying that when you develop one aspect more than the others, it's not just more difficult for your adjuster to communicate with you, it can also be dangerous. That's one thing.
对，他说，当这个人格各个方面不平衡的时候，尤其他前面上半部分讲到智性发展比灵性发展更快时，那么这个就是说使思想调整者向你传输信息更困难，并且这种情况也比较更危险。
So it doesn't say why, but it says when the development of the intellectual nature proceeds faster than that of the spiritual, it renders, I mean, this is very interesting. It doesn't really tell us why, but it renders communication with the adjuster both difficult and dangerous. So that's, now we all know that often very intellectual people are not very spiritual.
对，我们往往就知道，就是智性比较强的人，往往他并不那么属灵。
So I can see why that would make communication with the adjuster difficult, because they haven't really developed their connection with their super consciousness. They're completely focused on their consciousness.
他们跟这个超意识的这个联系根本就没有建立起来，因为他们更多的在显意识的层面运作。
I'm not sure why that would be dangerous.
那我不太确定那个为什么这个地方提到这样是很危险的。
But I mean, one possibility is that it's just dangerous because they have a lack of spiritual capacity. So now they're interpreting everything completely in an intellectual way, which is dangerous for a human being because things aren't purely intellectual. You misinterpret things when you only interpret reality intellectually. You definitely misinterpret the most important things in life, many of them.
对，他就说，如果你缺乏属灵的能力，那么你就是纯粹用智性的东西去解释灵性的东西，那么就是有很多的误解、误判，然后呢，就是对你这个对实相的解释完全是智性的，那么当然这是会有偏颇的。
So I don't know if this is what they're referring to dangerous, but it is dangerous as far as you need a certain amount of spiritual development to have eternal life, to believe in God, to have faith.
对你这个那个你需要发展一定程度的属灵的能力，然后向内看，然后就是培养对神的这个信仰，然后才能比较对属灵的事情有客观的一个评价。
So it might be dangerous to your very survival to just spend your life like many scientists do. I would say at least 50% of scientists don't believe in God. I'm just guessing, but I'm pretty sure.
他也许有一半的这个科学家，他们是不信神的，对灵性的不太感兴趣的。
Now, if you don't believe in God, that doesn't necessarily mean you won't get to the Marancha worlds.
说你不信神，并不意味着说你不能够进入整下世界，达到续存。
Because when I look at all these near-death experiences, once in a while there'll be someone who was an agnostic or an atheist and didn't believe in they still go and they meet God or Jesus or their angels, and their heart and their souls awakened.
对，那个在那些濒死体验的故事当中，也经常会有一些人，原来他们并不信神的，但是呢，他们也在濒死体验当中跟神，看到神，并且灵性苏醒。
But those people they'll never be agandanters.
但是呢，他们有可能但是也永远不会成为那个坚定不移者，
because they weren't capable of believing without seeing.
因为他们没有说没看见，但是又相信的这样的能力。
So they'll never have the special opportunities that Agandanters will have.
对，他们可能没有这个就是这坚定不移者那么拥有的那些特殊的机会。
And some atheists and may have, the Urantia book doesn't say anything about this, and I don't know, I'm just guessing here, but I don't know if all atheists are shown God and given the choice to believe or not after seeing. Maybe some have completely, I believe that some intellectually, willfully reject God. If you reject God, I don't think you're given that chance.
对，他说我不知道是不是所有的不信神的人都会就是被给予机会哈，是选择相信还是不相信？但是他是知道那些就是有意识的拒绝神的人，大概是没有续存的机会。
But a lot of these atheists, I've said this before, but a lot of these atheists, they claim to be atheists, but the minute their child is sick and in the hospital, they're the first one who's praying to God.
对，他说他见过很多那个自称是无神论者的人，但是当他们的孩子在医院里的时候，他们大概第一想到的就是要跟神祷告。
And that's good because they're probably the ones who get a second chance.
所以这样也对他们也是好的。那么至少他们就是有了第二个机会来进行新的选择。
Okay, it says, likewise, over spiritual development, this second sentence, likewise, over spiritual development tends to produce a fanatical and perverted interpretation of the spirit leadings of the divine indweller.
第二句这一段哈，64的第二句是同样过度灵性的发展，容易产生对神性内住者的灵性领导的狂热和扭曲的诠释。
This is why, and now my comments are, this is why I'm always warning about being very careful of getting involved with gurus and people who say they're enlightened and channelers, and because many of them are over spiritual and they're not balanced. They're not using their intellect to monitor and keep in check their spiritual tendencies.
Yeah. OK, so 这句话就是也是我一直提醒大家的，要小心那些灵性导师自称是灵性导师，或者认为是开悟的，或者是那些的通灵者。那么他们有可能是就是倾向于过度的灵性化，而可能并不拥有非常平衡的人格素质。那么这样的话呢，他们就可能就是说不会很那个有意识的智性的去检查和监督他们的这个心智的发展，这种的灵性的倾向。
I think there's millions of people who talk to God and hear God's voice all the time. I think there's millions of people, but they're not the ones. Those aren't the ones who are making websites and charging $100 an hour and calling themselves gurus. They're most often they're just people who go to church. They're people who pray because, well, I'll let you say that.
对，成千上万的人呢，宣称他们可以跟神说话，听到神的声音。那么他们就是建立自己的网站呢， 然后呢，就是收取钱财，然后让你们参加他们的会议啊，他们也有的就是他们这种的灵性大师，就是他们也经常去教会啊，也很经常的祷告啊。
They're just normal people who think that talking to God is normal, and they don't talk to other people. They hardly ever talk to other people about it. They just think it's normal. They believe in God, and they believe people can talk to God.
对，也有一些很普通的人呢，他们也跟神说话，也听到神的信息，但是他们认为这个是正常的，好像每一个人都有这个能力，他也不跟别人说特别的提起这些的经验。
These are the balanced people who have probably reached at least their third circle, psychic circle.
对，这些人呢，就是比较平衡的发展的人，他们有可能就是实际上已经达到了第三个圆圈，心灵圆圈。
But the people who get fanatical about it and go get deep into the occult and start going on, they start having an entire career about going off into other dimensions and communicating with dead people and everything else. Those people, I don't believe they've reached even their third circle. I don't even know if they've reached their sixth. They may have reached their, I don't know if they've gotten past their sixth circle.
那有一些人，他们过度的狂热哈，对这个灵性的这种的方面的东西，然后呢，就是也是很容易发展出一种邪教组织，把他们整个的生涯都泡在这里边，然后呢，比如说他们能够跟死人交流啊这种的，那么这些人很少就是达到了他们的第三个圆圈，有可能达到他们第六个他也不确定。
See, the Urantia book is calling it over spiritual development. They're, instead of like focusing on their job and their dog and their kids and their husband and they're focusing so much on the spiritual. They're doing yoga all day, they're meditating, they're going and spending years with gurus. That those people, it says, they can become fanatical, and the word it says that it tends to produce a fanatical and perverted interpretation of the spirit leadings of the divine adjuster. So what's happening is they hear that they realize they have communication with God and they get all excited about it, but they're so focused on this spiritual stuff, they get fanatical, and then they're misinterpreting the voice of their adjuster, and that's the problem.
对，这个就是有一些人的过度灵性过度灵性的发展那个他们有可能产生一些就是那个比如说他们画画就是不跟家庭在一起了，然后不理这个孩子丈夫花很多的时间在这个冥想或者去找这个灵性大师好几年的去追寻灵性大师去了这种过度的狂热，那么他们就是往往会就是曲解那些灵性的信息。
Now, okay, so we talked about over intellectual and we talked about over spiritual. Now we're going to talk about lack of spiritual.
那就是上面这个这两句，第一句是说不平衡，智性大于灵性，然后第二句呢是关于过度灵性的发展，然后第三句下面就开始讲灵性能力的缺乏。
Lack of spiritual capacity makes it very difficult to transmit to such a material intellect the spiritual truths resident in the higher superconsciousness. It is to the mind. Okay, so lack of spiritual capacity, that can also be similar to over intellect, the people who are over intellectual. But I think what they're saying here is that there are people who they're not necessarily very intellectual or very spiritual. They just don't, there's people who just, they drink their beer every night. They think about sex. They think about football. They think about getting a husband, they're not intellectual or spiritual.
对，这灵性能力的缺乏，这些人不见得多智性都很发达哈，就是他有可能智性和灵性都很能力都很低下，他们每天都要喝啤酒啊，就沉溺于性啊，就是那些狂热体育比赛有可能是做这些事情。
I think many of these people end up having substance abuse issues today in our modern world.
对，这个在现代社会，这些人往往会就发展出一些的，就是药物上瘾、物质上瘾的问题，吸毒啊。
The book doesn't say this. This is just my comment.
这个书上没说的，这是我自己的引申，自己的评论。
Because I think that human beings have an innate and natural desire to find God and to have a spiritual element in their life. And when they don't have it, they go out and try to fill that gap, fill that hole with something else.
对，人本来生来就有自然的、天然的一种渴望，就是像神的这样的一种渴望。然后这种属灵的因素在生活当中，如果是没有的话，他就会拿其他的东西来填补这个空缺。
And of course, that's the worst thing they can do, which we'll see why by the next sentence.
对，那么这个是很坏的一个策略。那么下一句可能更进一步的阐述。
It is to the mind of perfect poise, housed in a body of clean habits, stabilized neural energies, and balanced chemical function. When the physical, mental, and spiritual powers are in harmony of development, triune harmony of that a maximum of light and truth can be imparted with a minimum of temporal danger or risk to the real welfare of such a being. By such a balanced growth does man ascend the circles. So they're saying that the easiest way for a thought adjuster to communicate with a mortal being is when you're balanced, when you have a clean, healthy body, a clean, healthy mind, a normal, healthy spiritual capacity. That's when they can do their work the best with you. Otherwise, the other things we just talked about, when it's too much extreme of one or the other, it actually gets dangerous for the person.
对，他就是这一段最后这个大长句哈，说这个传授最大程度的光明和真理这个思想调整者需要这个存有，他需要完美的心智这个心智呢要基于身体干净然后呢心理层次呢稳定的神经能量和平衡的化学功能，这个就是然后就是身体心灵心理和灵性力量属于三位一体的和谐发展，这样的一个平衡的成长才能够就是得到比较的 不偏不倚的这个灵性的传输。那如果是走任何一个方面走极端了，都不利。
So that's one reason why there are these 7 psychic circles, because it says that when you do achieve a balance, a maximum of light and truth can be imparted with a minimum of danger and risk. So that's one of the reasons why our thought adjusters helping us to achieve these circles, which are increasing balance and maturity of our entire personality. So one of the reasons they really want us to achieve these circles is because then they can give us more light and more truth. We're in a better position to receive accurate and beneficial communication with our adjuster.
对，那么就是去取得最大程度的光和真理，那么就必须要有这个平衡的全我全人格的一个平衡的发展，那么才能得到准确的有益的信息。这是从这个扬升从7个圈到升到一个第1圈，这个它的这个目的所在，就是达到平衡的成长。
But just to be clear, just to be crystal clear to people who haven't heard me say this a million times on the other sessions, you don't need all of this to have eternal survival, to get to the Marancha worlds after death. You don't need it. It's very helpful, but all you need is faith in God, the will to do God's will. All you need is that true, sincere intention to do good and to do God's will, and faith in that will ensure your survival. These other things are all really helpful, but they're not. I don't want people to think, oh my God, I'm not balanced, I'm never going to get to heaven. It doesn't work that way.
对，但是我要反复的强调，就是说这个心灵圆圈的达成，并不是你去存到这个灵智世界的一个必要的条件。那么达到续存的唯一的条件，就是你要信奉神，然后呢有那个很真诚的愿望呢，执行神的意愿，这一点就足够了。然后7个心灵圆圈的达成是很有帮助的，那么你有平衡的人格发展是很有帮助的，但这个不是说你达到续存的一个必要的条件。
The gods are very merciful, they're very loving, and let's say you came from a very, very difficult childhood. You were abused, your father or your mother was an alcoholic, maybe you didn't have a parent, there was fighting in your house, a million things. You had a hard childhood. You're allowed to make mistakes. You're allowed to get on the wrong path. You're allowed to screw up. You're not. We all have to forgive ourselves and love ourselves. As long as we're trying, we're just doing our best, and we ask God to help us. You're going to get to the Marancha world. You don't have to worry about that. This book is just, well, it's telling us all kinds of things. But this with the psychic circles is just telling us, how to really make the most, the most of our life, and how to really move forward and have a better life. But don't, I don't want people to think you're being held to such high standards. You're not actually held to high standards at all. There's only a few real requirements.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah, because
他就说你不要就想哎呀不行啊，我这个不平衡啊，我没有办法续存了，或者怎么样。我们的神是非常的具有慈悲和怜悯的爱的神，那么你有可能经历一个非常的 困难的儿童时期，孩子那个受到虐待，然后或者你的父母那个是吸毒的，或者是那个酗酒的，或者你根本就没有从小失去了父母，然后你是被允许犯错误的，或者是暂时的在那个不对的路途上，或者把自己的生活搞得很糟糕。那么上天就是会原谅你的，只要你已经尽了最大的努力，就是说在那个回来的路上，那么真诚的祈求神的帮助，然后这7个心灵圆圈的达成，只是提醒我们，就是充分的利用我们的凡人的生活，然后持续的向前进步，然后呢过更好的生活，并不是说我们一直要求自己哈，给自己设定非常高的标准其实达到去存是非常非常少的这个要求你达成那个非常非常少、非常非常低的要求就可以达到的。
The Urantia book tells us that we start off on the next world, the first mansion world, exactly where we leave off here. So as far as you get in your development, your emotional, spiritual, and mental development, and psychological, because we have psychological, a lot of deficit, psychological problems here that need to be fixed before we can fuse with our adjusters. So as far as we get here, that's exactly where we start on the next world. And the first couple worlds, especially the first one, but the first maybe 2, I'm not sure how many, are just our main focus is going to be correction, fixing all of our problems, getting basically like super rehabilitation therapy, really achieving these 7 circles, that whatever circles we didn't achieve here, we will achieve there.
Yeah. 那么他就说，我的月然下之书告诉我们，就是我们第一个宅下世界哈，我们凡人世界之后进入第一个宅下世界，就是要医治疗愈各种的情绪心理就那些的缺陷，准备我们跟思想调整者的融合，有可能就是前几个宅下世界就是我们灵智那些生命有好几个，有可能它的主要的这个集中的点都是在就是说纠正这些的缺陷，就相当于就是一个超级疗愈吧，超级疗愈，我们要经历这些超级疗愈，来就是说达成就是与这个思想调整者最终融合的一个条件。
Okay. The adjusters are always near you and of you, but rarely can they speak directly as another being to you. Circle by circle, your intellectual decisions, moral choosings, and spiritual development add to the ability of the adjuster to function in your mind. Circle by circle, you thereby ascend from the lower stages of adjuster association and mind attunement, so that the adjuster is increasingly enabled to register his picturizations of destiny with augmenting vividness and conviction upon the evolving consciousness of this God-seeking mind soul. So when they say the adjusters are always near you and of you, but rarely can they speak directly as another being to you, that, and I just said before, millions of people hear their adjusters. But when you think that there's 7 billion people in the world, millions means that, it's still a small minority. of the whole. Ricky, are you there?
Pardon? What did you?
Mm.
7 million. So you, the God.
So I want to say that the first sentence in this paragraph is the adjusters are always near you, but rarely can they speak directly as another being to you. So that could mean two different things. One is, you know, rarely do you have direct communication with your adjuster, but they specifically say speak directly as another being to you. So that could mean that you get your urges and you know it's from your adjuster, but you don't hear the voice just clearly like another being speak. You know, I think it's very rare that people hear like a direct voice like another being. We've talked about that.
Yeah, 就是这个65这一段哈，调整者在我们身边，但是呢，我们却很少会听到，就是他跟我们像直接说话，另外一个人跟我们说话那样的交流。有可能我们只是就是有一种冲动啊，不可遏制的一种冲动，一种想法哈出来，就是不是说像另外一个人跟你说话那么清楚的一种交流。
And you know, so but when I say that I think there are millions of people who do speak to God and hear God, that doesn't mean all day, every day. It may just mean when they have a very important decision to make, they know in their soul which is the right one, and they know that's God leading them. It could be like that, you know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
他说我说这个有100万的人呢，他们能听到神说话，也并不是说他们每天都能听到啊，每时每刻都就是这个都能听到啊，只是说他们感觉到一个灵魂的一个深层的一种引领。
Like when I had the dream about being the space captain, the captain on the spaceship, that wasn't the director talking to me like another person, but I knew that was from my thought adjuster.
对，当我就是那个做那个梦啊，在这个宇宙飞船上面做船长的这个梦的时候，这个并不是神直接跟我说话，但是我就知道这个是思想讨论者跟我讲的。
There are some people on this world right now, I mean, you know, quite a few who have direct communication, like they hear their adjuster just sometimes, because I watch all these videos about all these spiritual people and sometimes they even hear the voice out loud, like and they're thinking, oh, there's someone in the room, and they look around the house, you know. I mean, you sometimes see there's two ways you can communicate with spirit. One is you can go into this you can do it on a spiritual level, and sometimes more rarely it happens on this level where suddenly the two become one. You're on both levels, you're in both levels at once, or maybe the spirits can somehow penetrate the physical level, right? So there's different ways of communicating.
Yeah, OK. 那么这个就是方式跟神跟你交流的方式就是很不同的。有的人呢，甚至就是说能听到有人跟他说话很大声的在房间里，但是找遍房子也没有见不到人。那么有2种方式，就是神跟你交流啊，有就是在灵性层面交流，你上升到灵性层面跟他交流。有的时候呢是神他就是穿透这个下降的物质那个实相层面跟你交流。有的时候有可能这种交流在同时2个层次可能都有。
But knowing that the adjusters are always near you and of you, just knowing that they hear everything, every thought, but anything you want to say to them, you can just because you don't hear them clearly doesn't mean they don't hear you clearly. You can always communicate with your adjuster.
对，那么实际上神是听得到哈，了解你的想法，你听不到，他们并不见得，他们听不到你。
So, you know, there's another thing you can do, which is very, very useful. You can start off with the prayer or with, you know, gratitude, you know, just feelings of gratitude, because I keep saying that's the highest frequency we can have is gratitude. That puts you, when you feel grateful, that puts you on a higher, singing also puts you on a higher frequency. There's certain things that are just a higher frequency. So singing puts you on a higher frequency, and so does gratitude. And if you start off there and then you just start thinking about what you want to do tomorrow or what you want to do, you know, plans or goals, you're naturally on a higher frequency. You're allowing your thought adjuster to sort of be part of your thought process. And then you might get inspired and you might get good ideas and things. You won't necessarily know it's coming from your adjuster, but you've put yourself in a frequency where it's easier for your adjuster to give you good ideas.
Yeah， 就是你，就是像有一些是那个修行方式比较有益的，像你祷告啊，或者是你在一种感恩的一种状态，经常表达感恩。那么感恩呢，就是把你放在一个非常高的频率上面，然后歌唱啊，唱歌也是，就是会使你在一个比较高的频率上面。那么在这样的高的频率上面呢，你可以想一些事情，比如说你明天要做什么，然后让这样调整者就是成为这个思考的一个这个过程当中有参与啊，然后他会给你一些的灵感，给你一些的好主意。
Most of your best ideas come from your thought adjuster, but you don't even know it.
那有最好的主意，有可能是就是从你的思想调整者来的，但是你不见得就知道是从他来的。
So then it says, circle by circle, your intellectual decisions, moral choosings, and spiritual development add to the ability of the adjuster to function in your mind. So this is, the Urantia book says throughout the book, in many, many places, the decisions, the most, I don't know, maybe the most important thing in life, certainly one of the very most important things in life is making the right decisions. So decisions, at one point it even says decisions, decisions, decisions. I think it's the only time in the book where they repeat a word 3 times.
对，就是他强调阅览的之书，强调这个决定的重要性啊。那个这一句是随着一圈圈的上升，你的智性决定、道德选择和灵性发展，提升了调整者在你心识中发挥作用的能力啊。就是你每一次的决定，这个是很重要的。
It's like it reminds me of real estate agents. I don't know if you have the same thing in China, but in America, the real estate agents say location, location, location. The 3 most important things when you're buying a property is location, location, location.
对，那个就是房地产生意的那些的代理哈，总是说强调你买房的3个最重要的因素是地点、地点、地点。那么月亮下之书呢，是说最重要的是决定、决定、决定。
Do you have that in China?
I think so. I think so. I
Yeah,
think
because that's very, very common.
Same principle.
Yeah, that's like a very well-known thing here with real estate, location, location, location. But with the Urantia book, there's you want to get to the Urantia world, decisions, decisions, decisions.
对你就是能够续存到宅下世界，那么最主要的这个因素就是决定。
So here they're saying your intellectual decisions, moral choosings, and spiritual development add to the ability of the adjuster to function in your mind. But moral choosings, those are also decisions, right? Because you're making a moral choice. A choice is a decision, a choice is a decision. And then they're saying spiritual development. Well, that's more of a well, you make a decision to develop spiritually too, right? That's a decision too. You make a decision to do God's will. That's how you develop spiritually.
他说这3方面，你看智性的决定啊，道德选择呀，和这个都是决定啊，都是决定。然后你决定像神一样啊，你就是决定发展自己的灵性的能力啊，这也属于决定啊。所以这3方面的发展都是关于这个，都可以就是提高这个像调整者在你心之中发挥作用。
The Urantia book says that we make decisions all day, every day. We just make decisions, but there are certain decisions are what they call supreme decisions, and those are the decisions that change your life.
对，他就是说那个有一些至高的决定是对你的生命起到很至关重要的作用的。
So a supreme decision is not the same as an important decision or a good decision or a bad decision. It's different. For instance, in the dream I had where I was the captain of the spaceship, that was a supreme decision because that would change my soul. Whether I decided to do the right thing or not, that would affect many people and my career and everything. There was so much at stake. And to make, I didn't know which decision to make, but the moment you make, when it's a supreme decision, the moment you make the right one, you know it was the right one, but you don't know until you make it. It's the strangest thing.
对，这至高决定呢，并不等于重要的决定或者好的坏的决定，而是说，当你就是做了这个至高决定以后，你马上知道你做的是一个正确的决定。
So what happens when you make, well, even good decisions in this case, every decision you make, that the right decision, which is often the hard decision, very often the right decision is the hardest one to make. Not always, but often. But every time you make a good decision, it makes it easier to make the right decision next time. And every time you make the wrong decision, you're more likely to make the wrong decision next time.
对，就是正确的决定往往是最难的决定。那么，但是呢，你一旦做出了正确的决定，你们就是比较容易再继续做正确的决定。你要是做了错误的决定，可能对就更难下一步再做出正确的决定。
When you make every good decision you make and every proper moral choice you make elevates you spiritually and makes it easier for your thought adjuster to communicate with you, and it changes you. It changes your frequency.
对你这个每一次你这个做了很对的道德选择，那么就往上提升了嘛，那思想调整者就更容易来就是改变协调你，把你调频到更高的频率。
So as you're making these decisions, you're growing and you're becoming more balanced, and circle by circle you're going from the lower stages of adjuster association to the higher stages. And as you get to the higher stages, your adjuster is communicating with you better and better.
对，那么就是你成长啊，就成长为就是更平衡的人格。那么你从低的阶段，然后就是跟这个像调整者的联系更紧密，那么这个像调整者跟你的交流就会越通畅。
And this is why, and this is why for many of us older people, you look back and you can't believe the things you did. You can't believe the decisions you made. Like you can't believe you were that stupid or that immoral, or but that's a good sign, because it shows that you've grown. You would never do those things again now.
嗯哼，当人这个随着年龄增长啊，就会回头看呢，就会会看到自己以前啊做过那么多的愚蠢的决定啊，不道德的决定啊。那么这个是一个好的征兆，就说明你已经学了教训，不会再那么做了啊。
So it's good to have regrets. This is the first time I ever thought this, by the way. And this is me talking, not the book. I'm saying it's good to have regrets. It's good to be ashamed of your past because it shows that you've grown.
他说这是我在讲话，不是书上的，就是说你有遗憾呢，有懊悔啊，这个是好的，说明你这个为以前的错误感到就是说羞耻，那么你说明你成长了呀。
I mean, it's embarrassing that you've done such terrible things, but at least you're not doing the same terrible things.
嗯哼，那就是非常的承认做一些的愚蠢的事情，非常令人窘迫的，但是至少你不会再做了。
Okay, every decision I'm reading, every decision you make either impedes or, okay, this is the same idea. Every decision you make either impedes or facilitates the function of the adjuster. That's what I just said. Likewise, do these very decisions determine your advancement in the circles of human achievement. So that's decisions, decisions, decisions. It is true that the supremacy of a decision. Oh, yeah, now they're talking about supreme decisions. It is true that the supreme, and I know you have to translate. I'm just reading. I'm doing this for myself. It is true that the supremacy of a decision. Oh no, wait, I'm reading this for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I shouldn't be commenting. Okay, I'm just going to start over. Every decision you make either impedes or facilitates the function of the adjuster. Likewise, do these very decisions determine your advancement in the circles of human achievement. It is true that the supremacy of a decision, its crisis relationship, has a great deal to do with its circle-making influence. Nevertheless, numbers of decisions, frequent repetitions, persistent repetitions are also essential to the habit-forming certainty of such reactions. So that's pretty much what I was just talking about.
现在我们在那个1106.6啊，中间这一页中间的这一段，这个是一直关于决定的重要性啊，这一段。
So here when they say it is true that the supremacy of a decision, see here they're talking about supreme decisions.
对，这个地方也提到至高性的决定。
And they're saying its crisis relationship has a great deal to do with its circle-making influence. So they're saying that supreme decisions are often in a crisis. Like when you're in a crisis, the decisions you make are very, very important.
他是说，就是在危机来临的时候，你做的决定往往就是一个至高性的决定。
So and these decisions really affect your development through your psychic circles.
对，这是与造圈的影响有很大的关系。
But they say, but nonetheless, the number of decisions and frequent repetitions, persistent repetitions are also essential to habit forming certainty of such reaction. So what they're saying is just what I said before. every good decision you make, even the small ones, makes it, you're creating the habit of making good decisions. It is a habit. Every good decision makes it easier to make the next good decision. So, and also some people have trouble. All right, I'll let you say that.
他就说这个，并且这种的正确的决定呢，哈，它的数量频繁的重复啊，持续的重复是对于形成习惯的确定性是必不可少，就是改习性嘛，有改习性的过程。你这个做了一正确的决定，那么在下一次做正确决定就更容易了。对。
And this is interesting because they say, nevertheless, numbers of decisions, frequent repetitions, persistent repetitions. So this is interesting because some people have trouble making any decision. A lot of people. I know one very well. And you procrastinate or you sit on the fence. So they're saying this goes along with the idea that I've heard before, that better to make the wrong decision than no decision. The book doesn't say this, but I think what they're saying number of decisions. They're saying make a lot of decisions. Keep making decisions. Don't refuse to make them. Don't sit back. Don't hold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally agree. 他说就是有的人啊，他们就是很迟疑那种优柔寡断的哈，就是很难做出任何的决定啊。所以呢，实际上就是他认为就是你做错误的决定也比不做决定要好。
Because you see, if you make the wrong decision, at least you had the courage to make a decision, and you learn very, very quickly when you make a wrong decision, and you'll never make, if you're a conscientious person, you'll never make that wrong decision again. So you're way ahead. You're way ahead afterwards.
你就是说你即使错了你至少有这个勇气去做决定，那么你会很快的学习到这是一个错误的决定，那么你就是又往前进步了一步，对。
And these aren't necessarily supreme decisions. These are just decisions. So, hey, if you get it wrong, you can apologize. You can make it right. It's not the end of the world, but it's good to just go ahead and make a decision.
对，那个就是你不一定这个决定是至高决定，但是呢，至少你意识到错误，那么你赶快道歉啊，这也不是世界末日就是对我们总有纠正的机会。
And develop the habit of making decisions.
对，就是形成一个做决定的一个习惯。
And the more you make, the easier it will be to make them.
你越做的决定越多，那么就越容易做决定。
Okay. See, they even talk about are essential the habit forming certainty of such reactions. So they really emphasize decisions. Okay. All right, I'm going to read. It is difficult precisely to define the 7 levels of human progression for the reason that these levels are personal. They are variable for each individual and are apparently determined by the growth capacity of each human being. The conquest of these levels of cosmic evolution is reflected in 3 ways. So that's really interesting, because they're saying there aren't just 7 circles that we all have to reach. They're saying that these 7 circles are customized for your own potential. So each person they're different for each person. I never realized that before.
他说这个这110.6.7这一段哈，这是很难界定人类进步的7个层次啊，因为这层次是非常个人化的，是因人而异的。他说他从来没有想到这一点。
So that makes sense. So instead of it being like number 3, you have to be this balanced and this intellectual and this spiritual. They're saying they're taking you from where you start and what your total capacity is. And then they're saying your number 3 would be this balanced and this, right? Because you can only be based on your DNA and your culture and your family and whatever influences you. You can only, we don't all have the same capacity in this life. They say eventually it all evens out. You know, we all end up on an, with we all can go to the same heights, but in this lifetime we don't have the same capacity. So they individualize these for as balanced as we can be based on who we are. That's very interesting.
对，那么就是他说，基本上就是根据我们的遗传呐、文化啊、是家庭的影响，我们这个能力啊、成长的能力啊，每个人成长的能力都是不同的。最终当然我们会可能就是达到同样的高度，但是就是在这一世来讲，那个是成长的能力是不同的。那么所以这7个心灵圆圈也是非常个性化的。
So they say the conquest of these levels of cosmic evolution is reflected in 3 ways. Number 1, adjuster attunement. I'm going to read number 2, and then I'm going to read what they are. Soul evolution. Number 3, personality reality. Okay. Number 1, adjuster attunement. The spiritizing mind nears the adjuster presence proportional to circle attainment. So your mind is becoming more spiritual.
对，那么就是这3个就是这个宇宙进化层次的政府反映在3个方面哈。第一方面就是调整者协调，就是灵性化的心识，接近调整者的临在与他的达成成正比。
So that's adjuster attunement. Your mind is becoming more spiritual and you're getting closer to your adjuster as you attain each circle. That's number 1.
这是第一个方面。
That was quick.
Yeah.
Number 2, soul evolution. The emergence of the Marancha soul indicates the extent and depth of circle mastery, soul evolution. So we know that the soul is the child of your mind and your thought adjuster. Work your mind and your thought adjuster together create your soul. So how attuned you are to your adjuster determines the evolution of your soul, or how evolved your soul is.
对，我们知道第二方面是灵魂的进化。我们知道这个灵魂呢，是我们的心识和思想调整者共同就是结合产生的。那么就这个进化的程度哈，就是我们跟思想调整者更协调的话，那么灵魂就是在进化。
But apparently, and I didn't realize this, apparently your soul is also influenced by the extent of your circle mastery, which means that the soul is not just how in tuned. Well, it is actually. So they're all connected. So how in tuned your mind is with your adjuster, it's not just how spiritual you are, it has to do with this whole balance of your whole personality. And that has to do with the mastery of the circles. So the further you evolve in your psychic circles, the more evolved your soul will be.
对，你随着这个掌握圈儿的程度和深度哈，在这个进步过程当中，你跟思想讨论者更协调，那么你的灵魂也就是更进展，就是说你这个达到平衡的人格，就是你的灵魂就是更进展。
Now, this is going to be personality. This is where it gets tricky. Personality, reality. The degree of selfhood, reality, is directly determined by circle conquest. Persons become more real as they ascend from the 7th to the 1st level of mortal existence. I'm going to read the next paragraph because it might help explain that last one.
Yeah.
As the circles are traversed, the child of material evolution is growing into the mature human of immortal potentiality. The shadowy reality of the embryonic nature of a 7th circler, that's someone who's just achieved the first psychic circles, is giving way to the clearer manifestation of the emerging Marancha nature of a local universe citizen. I'm going to read that again because I forget that the
Okay.
people listening, you guys have already read it, but I forget that people
Yeah.
listening in English, this is the first time they might be hearing it. As the circles are traversed, the child of material evolution is growing into the mature human of immortal potentiality. The shadowy reality of the embryonic nature of a 7th circler is giving way to the clearer manifestation of the emerging Marancha nature of a local universe citizen. While it is impossible precisely to define the seven levels or psychic circles of human growth, it is permissible to suggest the minimum and maximum limits of these stages of maturity realization. So as the circles are traversed, the child's material is going into the mature human of immortal. Okay, so you're becoming more and more Maranchal. You're becoming less of an animal and more of a Maranchal being, right? As you evolve through your circles.
是说你从那个，就是这一圈儿一圈儿的振幅的时候，你就是更变得更灵智化。
So this is, this is really, you have to remember, this is a solitary messenger writing this that helps you understand what they're saying. So they say the next sentence is the shadowy reality of the embryonic nature of a 7th circler is giving way to the clearer manifestation of the emerging Marancha nature of a local universe citizen. To a solitary messenger, right? That's the author of this paper.
这个就是单独使者写的，现在他在那个1106.11那一段第7圈的胚胎属性的模糊现实，正让位于一个地方宇宙公民新兴灵智属性的更清晰的表达。
We humans in our first circles, our 7th, our 6th, our 5th, we don't see this as a shadowy reality. We see the material reality as a full, complete, and total reality. But for a solitary messenger, the more physical reality is to them is a shadowy, embryonic reality. We become more real to them as we become less physical and more Maranchal. Do you understand? It's very funny.
Yeah, that's true. 他就
Yeah.
是那个对于那个我们这物质界的人呢，认为这个物质世界的实相是非常的完整的，充分的。但是像对那个单独使者来说，我们却是那种很模糊的哈。而这个我们随着我们灵智性的发展呢，然后我们才慢慢的变得更清晰，从这个一种影子式的那个才变得更清晰。
We material beings think that everything material is real and everything spiritual or celestial or supernatural is shadowy, is not as real. But it's the exact opposite for spiritual beings. They see spiritual reality and everything beyond this, with, well, we call it spiritual, but to them it's just reality, and that everything purely material is not reality. It's just like a shadowy embryo, an embryonic beginning, a shadowy thing that's not as real. That's what they're saying here.
对，那么我们对那个灵界啊、超自然的，我们认为是影子，是不真实的。但是对灵界的存有来说，在这个之外的，在灵界之外的那个才是胚胎属性的模糊的现实，就是正好从不同的视角、不同的维度看，那个是不一样的。
To spirits and more evolved spiritual beings, we're not even really real to them until we fuse with our adjusters, or at the very least until we become Morancho beings.
对，我们就是说，跟像调整者融合之后才变为真实的啊，或者至少我们就是说进入这个灵智性的这个存有的，才成为真实的，就是在那之前都不真实的。
Some spiritual beings can't even see the physical without, there's authors of this book that they can only see the physical when with special techniques of manipulation. They're here on this planet writing this book, but they need special techniques to see the physical world they're on, because they live in a different reality, and to them, they live in reality. We live in this shadowy reality, but we become more real with each circle.
对，那对大部分灵界存有来说，他们根本就还看不到这个我们这个物质界，他们就需要一个特别的技术来能够体察这个物质界的实相，因为他们生活在不同的实相当中。那么，对我们来说，随着我们这个一圈一圈的政府，就我们变得更加的真实，对他们来说。
So it's an interesting way to look at it. We can say that as we traverse these circles, as our soul develops, because the two are happening at the same time, we are becoming more real in terms of universal reality.
对，就随着一圈一圈的征服呢，我们这个灵魂的进化呢，就是我们在这个宇宙实相当中变得更加的真实。
And they say here is giving way to the clearer manifestation of the emerging Morancha nature of a local universe citizen. See, they don't see us as a local universe citizen until we become a Morancha. When we become a Morancha being, then we're a local universe citizen, which we can become on this planet. We don't have to wait to get to the mansion world to become a Morancha citizen. We just have to develop our soul to the extent that we're thinking with our soul and feeling with our soul and operating on a soulful Morancha level.
Yeah. 对，我们就是说那个成为这个地方宇宙的灵智性公民就是当我们嗯但是就是说，在这个地球上，我们也可以成为这个灵智性公民。如果我们用就是想感觉都是用灵魂用灵魂去思考，用灵魂来感觉的时候，我们实际上就是一个灵智性的公民。
Jesus says that many knock. I'm just paraphrasing, but that many knock, but few enter.
对，这个耶稣曾经说过，很多人敲门，但是很少有人进门。
That's knocking on the gate, knocking on the door of heaven, and few get in. Few have the door only opens to a few. Many want to get there, but most do not make it.
对，他就说这个敲门就是天堂的门嘛，那很多人叩门，但是很少的人被允许进去。
So they if you're not going to make it, if you're just living your physical life and then you're going to go away and not continue on, you're not a local universe citizen. You're only a local universe citizen once you decide to take the eternal journey and to become a real person as part of the universe. Until then, you're really just you're on probation. We're all on probation.
嗯哼，
we're like what do they call it? Not a screen test, but like what do you call it when you try out for something? You try out for a sports team and you might make it or you might not. What do you call that? Tryouts.
Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
like when
about.
you're in training in the Marine Corps. Well, most of the people who go to training in the Marine Corps do not make it. So we're like in training, and most of us are, we who in this group, we're going to make it, I'm sure. We're all going to make it.
Yeah.
But
对，
many people in the world are not. So it's like,
对。
this is like the training camp.
对，如果我们的这个肉身生命结束之后，没有继续往在这个旅程上继续进展，那么我们就实际上没有成为宇宙的公民对，就是没有踏上永恒之路我们因为现在的生活只能算是在服预备役只做一个就是筛查试验。或者是运动队当中的这个，尝试一下是这个，陆战队的这个训练营，那么参加训练的人不见得到最后就被录取为这个正式的队员所以呢，但是他就说，但是我很确定我们现在在场的每一个人实际上就都是可以达到这个被正式录用的。
But you don't have to wait to die. You don't have to wait till you die to find out. You can assure your survival right here, anytime, any day, anytime you want. You can assure your survival during this lifetime. You just have to commit. You have to make that commitment, that supreme decision to do God's will and to put his will, the God's will before your will.
对，当然你不需要到死那天你才发现自己有没有达到续存，那么你在现在任何的一个时刻，你都可以做这样一个至高的决定，就是使神的旨意，让神的来就是用你的意志来实行神的意志。
But you can't just say it. You have to sincerely desire that with your heart and soul. You have to that has to be your heart's desire. But if it is, then you're already a citizen of the universe. You're already developing your soul. You're leaving that shadowy reality behind and becoming part of becoming embracing true reality. That's what reality is.
Yeah. 对，那么就是你不是说光口头上这样说，而是你就是衷心的渴望这样的想望，用你的心和灵魂，去渴望实行神的旨意。那么你实际上就是一个宇宙公民了，你不再是一个影子式的、胚胎式的，这个你把这个形象贴在后面，而拥抱真正的实相。
So the seventh circle, that's the very first one. Okay, this level is entered when human beings develop the powers of personal choice, individual decision, moral responsibility, and the capacity for the attainment of spiritual individuality. Wait a minute, before I read this, I just want to read that person number 3 again to see if we got it, because that was a tricky one. Number 3 was personality reality. I think we just covered that. The degree of selfhood reality is directly determined by persons become more real as, okay, yes, so we did, they did describe it the next. Yeah, you become more real. You're not real until, yeah, we just covered that. Okay. So yeah, okay, we just covered that. Okay, the 7th circle. This level is entered when human beings develop the powers of personal choice, individual decision, moral responsibility, and the capacity for the attainment of spiritual individuality. This signifies the united capacity for the attainment of the united capacity for the attainment of spiritual individuality. Wait a minute, I'm all mixed up. I'm sorry, I'm like really mixed up. This signifies the united function of the 7 adjutant mind spirits under the direction of the spirit of wisdom, the encirclement of the moral creature in the influence of the Holy Spirit, and on Urantia, the first functioning of the spirit of truth, together with the reception of a thought adjuster in the mortal mind. Entrance upon the 7th circle constitutes a mortal creature, a truly potential citizen of the local universe. I don't know when you enter the 7th circle. I think you enter as a child. I think when you make your first, I think when your thought adjuster comes, when you make your first moral decision. I thought they would tell us. I mean, I've read this before, but I thought they would tell us when that happens. This level is anyone you may develop the power of personal choice. Okay, a little child has the power of personal choice, individual decision, moral responsibility, and the capacity of a spirit. Yeah. Okay. This is when you're, yeah, this is your first circle. I think you get a thought adjuster when you make your first moral decision as a little child.
当你就是做第一个道德决定的时候，是让调整者进驻到你的里面。当你是一个孩子的时候。
I think that's when you enter the 7th circle. Basically, it says entrance upon the 7th constitutes a mortal creature, a truly potential. You have, in other words, your mind is functioning normally. You have all these spiritual influences working with you. You have a thought adjuster, and you're old enough to make moral decisions. I think that's what when you enter your 7th circle. I think you're very young.
那这个第7圈的入口标志着，就接受了凡人信任，接受了这思想调整者，就标志着这个入口嘛。第7圈的入口标志着凡人受造物成为真正潜在的地方宇宙公民，就是说这个潜在性，在那里。
Because the last sentence says, entrance upon the seventh circle constitutes a mortal creature, a truly potential citizen of the local universe. Well, if a little child dies, they still have the potential to be a citizen of the local universe, right? So I think my guess is that it either happens when you get your thought adjuster, which is usually around the age of 6, or maybe shortly after that. That's my guess.
Yeah， 就是一般6岁左右嘛，你就是有一个思想调整者的进驻，那么这个就是说你是有潜力成为这个地方宇宙公民的，虽然你有可能孩子的时候你就去世了，失去这个肉身，但是你还是有这个潜力。
Yeah. The third circle. The adjuster's work is much more effective after the humanist. So they're skipping the 5th and the 4th. I mean the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th, right? So you have to just imagine. They're just telling us the main ones here.
他说这个4、5、6就跳过去了，然后直接就是现在描述第3圈。
So it's a slow, gradual evolution through our life.
那么我们就是在一生当中这一点点的慢慢的进化。
But the really important one is when you reach the 3rd circle. So that's after the 7th, the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th. And when you reach your 3rd, that's the real important one.
对，进展到第7、6、5、4，然后第3圈是非常有意义的。
The 3rd circle, the adjuster's work is much more effective after the human ascender attains the 3rd circle and receives a personal seraphic guardian of destiny. While there is no apparent concert of effort between the adjuster and the seraphic guardian, nonetheless, there is to be observed an unmistakable improvement in all phases of cosmic achievement and spiritual development subsequent to the assignment of the personal seraphic attendant. When the 3rd circle is attained, the adjuster endeavors to meranchize the mind of man during the remainder of the mortal lifespan, to make the remaining circles and achieve the final stage of the divine human association before natural death dissolves the unique partnership. So that's interesting too. I forgot that part. They're saying that they're saying here that if you reach your 3rd circle, there's a good chance you will reach your 1st circle before you die. That's once you reach the 3rd, the adjuster is really going to try to get to the 1st before you die.
这个第3圈我们在106、14这一段啊，这个第3圈，就是这个有那个，你达到这一圈之后呢，就是有炽天使这个命运守护者来这个帮助你这个，然后呢就是，并且你只要达到第3，他就很想就是说通过余下你的时间让你心智变得灵智化，然后争取让你达到第1圈。
When it doesn't make it clear here, but I read it somewhere else in the book, that as the moment you reach your 3rd circle, you automatically get assigned a personal seraphic guardian. That's a guardian angel.
对你这个，当你达到第3圈之后，你自动的就会获得一个个人的守护天使。
So before that, you have your guardian. There, everyone has guardian angels, but but guardian angels are assigned to groups, like groups of 1,000 people, and then maybe 500, and then 100, and then maybe 20. So as you evolve, you're in smaller and smaller groups. But when you reach your third circle, then you get your own. That's only that. Most people don't have their own guardian angel, but they do have guardian angels. They're part of a group.
对，那么就是个人守护天使，每个人都有个人守护天使，但是呢，就是有可能这个人守护天使守护上千人啊，守护500人的啊，或者是守护20个人的，就是你随着进展，你的灵性进展，你就是越来越到那个小的组。然后那个到最后到第3圈的时候，你就获得你个人的守护天使，就是专门为你工作的。
Now, guardian angels always function in pairs.
你个人守护天使总是成对的出现的。
So when we talk about our guardian angel, we're really talking about 2 guardian angels.
他们就是执行任务的时候都是成对出现的。当我们说这个守护天使的时候，我们是说，哎，这一对守护天使。
Now they call them seraphic guardians of destiny because they're seraphim. That's the kind of angel they are. They're seraphim.
对，这个命运守护者天使是天使。
Now, guardian angels always have a cherubim and a sanibim who also operate in a pair, and they're like a little bit lower order, but they're also angels. They're also very, very high spiritual beings, but they're a little lower on the chain, on the food chain, than the seraphim. So they're the helpers, they're the assistants. So really, when you have a guardian angel, you have 4 angels.
对，并且就是这一对的守护天使呢，他们还有一对副天使，辅助他们。所以当我们说到守护天使的，实际上一共有4位天使。
Now many seraphim are created as seraphim, but sanibim and cherubim, their associates, can progress and eventually become seraphim.
对，那个炽天使就是生来就是炽天使，但是这个低层次那个副天使的那一对副天使，他们可以进化，最终成为炽天使。
So when you get your own guardian angel, you have 4 angels just devoted to you and a thought adjuster. So you have a whole team working with you.
啊，当你达到第3圈的时候，你有4位守护天使专门为你服务，再加上这个思想调整者，你有整个团队来为你服务。
Now you might think, why would these high spiritual beings be so devoted to these lowest order animal origin beings?
你可能会这个心里边疑惑，为什么就是这么多的天使为我们这样一个低等来源的这么一个造物来服务？
There's one reason, and that is because we have thought adjusters.
只有一个理由，就是我们有思想调整者。
Angels don't have thought adjusters.
天使是没有思想调整者内住的。
They're created higher than we are, so they're naturally much more spiritual than we are. But they see this fragment of God in us, so they have great respect for us because they actually see us as a human being, but also they're very aware of our thought adjusters.
对，那么他们这个天使呢，实际上这个只是比我们高的，灵性上比我们高的，但是呢，他对我们内住的思想调整者是非常的尊敬崇敬的。所以他只是不光看我们是一个肉身的人类，他更尊敬我们内在的这个神性。
So when they see us, they're seeing kind of like half God, half man.
他看我们是半人半神的，
They're seeing our potential.
他看到我们的潜力。
It's like, I'm always making these analogies of little kids because it's so appropriate. When we see a little kid, we're thinking that kid could grow up to be the president of the country. That kid could be an astronaut. That kid could be a great teacher, a great artist. We're not just thinking, well, that little 2-year-old can hardly walk. He can hardly talk. He's just a little moron. We're seeing their potential. The angels see our potential.
对，就我总是拿孩子做比喻，我们看到这个小孩，他长大了可能成为一个总统，一个宇航员，一个教师，一个出色的艺术家。我们不是光看他是一个小屁孩儿，那么这个天使看我们也是一样的。
Also, they don't just see our potential, they see our unlimited, phenomenal potential to go. There's no limit to how high we can go, to how much we can evolve. Our destinies are unfathomable. They're amazing. So our angels are going to travel with us. Once we get assigned a guardian angel, they're going to be with us forever. They're going to travel our entire life with us.
That's amazing.
It is.
他看到我们的潜力，那么巨大的潜力，那么就是这不断的进化，的程度就是无可限量，前途无量哈。他并且从此以后就是在永恒的永世的这个旅程当中，永远与我们同在，就是这个陪伴是永远永世的。
So they're making a commitment to us the way we're making a commitment to our thought adjusters, because we know those of us who know, we know that we're going to be with our thought adjusters for eternity. They're going to be us and we're going to be them. So it's similar to the angels. They're going to be with us forever. So they love us. You can't imagine how much they love us.
对，就是他就是对我们有这个承诺，就像我们对这个思想调整者做出了一种承诺一样，就是在永世当中的一种的结合，我们成为思想调整成为我们，那么就是对，我们成为他们，他们成为我们，那个你就难以想象，就是我们的天使是多么的爱我们。
And once we reach our third circle, there's a very good chance that we're going to make it to the Marancha worlds, that we're going to survive, that we're going to reach our first circle. So they want us to make it, because then they'll be with us forever. So there's a very good chance once we get our own guardian angel that we're going to be with them forever, that we're going to survive.
对。
we might not, but there's a very good chance.
当我们达到第3个圆圈的时候，我们就是有非常大的可能性能够进入续存到在下世界，能够成为最终的续存者。所以他是一直与我们在这个努力的历程当中。
the thing is, they say while there is no apparent concerted effort between the adjuster and the guardian angel, nonetheless, there is an unmistakable improvement in all phases of cosmic achievement and spiritual development after we get our own guardian angel. So they don't know how, they say this a number of times in the book, they don't know quite how the angel and the thought adjuster are working together, but once we get our own guardian angel assigned to us, there's a much a big improvement in our cosmic achievement and spiritual development.
对，这一段就说这个，就说当我们达到第3圈之后，这个在宇宙成就灵性发展的所有阶段都有了长足的这个改善啊，进步啊，
And they're also I think it's probably the cherubim or sanabim, but they're recording everything. Everything in our life gets recorded.
我们所有的一切就是这些副天使，大概他们都记录下来，都会保存这些的经验。
So be careful what you do.
要很小心你做什么，你做什么都是被记录的。You are registered student in a college, so you have to submit transcripts.
Well, that's one thing that is known in I mean, a lot of this stuff in the Urantia book, like these psychic circles, you won't find anywhere else, but the recording is sort of known. They call them the Akashic records. I'm sure you've heard of them, right?
对，就是他就说大家大概都知道那个阿卡西记录。
Have you heard of them?
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. That's one of the things that's known in very well known in the spiritual realm. But the Urantia book confirms that the Akashic records are real. Everything is recorded.
对，那么这个在灵界这个阿卡西记录是很有名的。那么月亮下之书相当于就是进一步肯定了这种记录的存在。
They don't call them Akashic records in the Urantia book, but
但是不叫这个名字。
It's the same thing.
对，实际上同一回事。
The first circle. Okay, the first circle. The first circle, the adjuster cannot ordinarily speak directly and immediately with you until you attain the first and final circle of progressive mortal achievement. This level represents the highest possible realization of mind adjuster relationship in the human experience prior to the liberation of the evolving Morancha soul from the habiliments of the material body. That just means death. Concerning mind, emotions, and cosmic insight, this achievement of the first psychic circle is the nearest possible approach of material mind and spirit adjuster in human experience. Concerning mind, emotions, and cosmic insight, this achievement is the first psychic circle. This achievement of the first psychic circle is the nearest possible approach of material mind and spirit spirit adjusting. Okay, so you can't get any closer to your adjuster than this in this first lifetime. That's the closest you're going to get is when you achieve your first circle. The closest you're going to get to your adjuster.
就是这个6.15这一段讲那个，就是第一个灵圈的达成是人类经验中物质心识和灵性调整者最接近的可能途径。
So when you attain the first circle, which is it's funny, they call it the first circle, but it's actually the last circle, right? Because it goes back, you
Yeah.
start at the
Yeah.
seventh and go to the
它是这
first.
个第一个，可是实际上是最后一个。
So the first circle is the last circle.
第一个是最后一个。
When you achieve this first circle, you will be able to speak pretty directly with your adjuster.
那么达成这个圈儿之后，就是思想调整者就直接和我们说话了。Actually, it is the thought adjuster, adjuster speak, not speak to us, but to speak out as us, because you know after that we kind of commingled. And,
No,
fused.
we're not even close to fusing yet.
哦，他不是说融合，他就是说在这之后，这达成一第一圈儿就可以直接跟我们说话，就是他的信息不会被扭曲了。
It says they are of us, but they're not us. They're of us because they are a part of us. They're definitely a part of us, but they're a separate part of us. So you're still speaking to it like it's a separate entity until you fuse.
那还是就是说，对我们讲话，那还是还没有达到融合的，还没有彻底融合的。
Yeah. But you're thinking more with your soul, and your soul is that new philosophical mind that is the product of your adjuster and your mind coordinating, right? So when you're using your soul, you're kind of like thinking with your adjuster, right?
那就是你用你的灵魂去思考，就是哲理性的心识，你的灵魂去思考，那么就也类似于用思想调整者。
Or we could say when you're thinking, when you're tuning into your soul, you're more influenced, but your soul is a much higher level frequency than your human mind.
那么你的灵魂当然比你的心识就是频率要高得多，你就是调频到灵魂的层面，对，当然就是说，那就是跟那个像调整者也就很接近了。
We could say it's more real. It's more real. You're more likely to be tuned into reality than some kind of shadowy, distorted reality.
对，那么你就跟实相就更接近了。
Yeah, no, we're not. We can't. Even when we reach our first, we have to reach our first circle before we fuse. But we don't fuse as soon as we reach our first. Absolutely not, because we still have to go to the mansion worlds and work out all of our problems and make all those corrections and all the. I mean, there's a few people that reach their first that are very, very balanced, and then they can skip the first few mansion worlds and go right to some of the higher mansion worlds, and then they might fuse pretty soon, but most of us won't. We'll have a lot of work to do first.
那么就是达到第一个心灵圆圈，但实际上还没有完全的融合的，因为我们还要在下世界当中来解决我们自身存在的一些问题，做一些的纠正，达到更平衡的状态。当然，就是我们达到平衡的状态，之后可以就是跳过一些的在下世界，可以就是进展迅速一些。
Now, you can get assigned your own guardian angel before you reach your third circle under certain circumstances.
对，你有可能被分配这个单独的保护卫天使，就是有可能在达到第三个圈之前，在一些特殊的情况下。
When you sincerely and wholeheartedly make that decision to do God's will, at that point, you will also whether you've reached your third circle or not, you will get your own guardian angel.
对，当你就是说很真诚的、全心全意的想要实行神的旨意，这个时候你也会被分配一个的那个他自己的护卫天使。
If you're in the reserve corps, if you're in the reserve corps, which we'll read about soon, you'll also get your own.
对，
Guardian
你在这
angel.
个预备役军团也会被分配一个个人的守护天使。那么我们以后会读到。
Okay, so do you think we well, we could finish, well, I don't know, do you want to finish? We have just another page.
Oh my goodness, quite long for this section, huh?
Well, we got through the circles. Now they're just, I mean, we got through, you know, now we're just gonna, this part's just gonna explain them all. We have one more page,
Yeah, so,
but it's getting late. So and you
long,
guys
yeah.
started earlier, so maybe we should stop.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I
because you
think-
started earlier than me.
Yeah.
But we got through the main parts. This is going to be fun to just read the last page, which describes them.
Yeah. 那今天可能有点晚了，我们开始的比较早，对他来说是那个，对我
But-
们下一次吧。Yeah, we can.
But
Stop.
I purposefully took a lot of time on this because this is the only place in the whole book that it explains what these circles are. And these are really important to know about.
对，我就是这一部分花的时间比较多，因为这个是这本书唯一的地方讲到心灵圆圈，所以想让大家了解更多。Yeah, good. 那伙伴们还有醒着的吗？就是有没有问题？就是读的这一部分，今天读的有没有相关的问题想要问一下Heidi 的？
醒着，但是没啥问题。
哦，那我们今天就到这里吧。
哎，这个文章你发到群里了吧？就今天读的这个
110啊，是啊，
啊，发了是吧
找一？下，
啊
你找一下，
好的好的，谢谢。
用最近的版本，因为有的时候我记得我发过2、3次，你就用最近的版本。
好的，谢谢。今天这章对我们还挺重要的。
对，下一章更精彩，下一章。对，
什么？
Any
Okay.
questions or anything? What's good? What anything I should know? Here?
Well, Fiona just thinks this is a very important paper.
Yeah.
Enjoyed reading this, and I told her that next paper is even more exciting. Wonderful.
Which one?
Paper 111. Next
I'm-
one.
I know. I'm looking at it.
那困的伙伴就可以下线了哈。我们今天学习就到这儿。这个 Heidi 有时候他喜欢聊别的，那么大家听不听都可以。谢谢大家。参加我们的共读，我们下周继续。但是就感恩节那一周，就11月份最后一周，我们会停一次，然后12月份我们就开始，基本上12月，对，我们就开始读110啊111。
I lost my place in the book. I don't know. I think this is paper one, the adjuster and the soul. Oh, well, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's the Urantia book talk about how how soul evolved, you know, that this is the only book that I found it gives so detailed, thorough information on how soul evolved.
Oh, totally. And it's the only book I know of that really explains the difference between the mind, the spirit, and the soul. And yeah, the spirit being the thought adjuster and the soul.
对，我就感叹，就是预言下之书，因为下一章是关于像调整者和灵魂的，我就感叹说，预言下之书讲这个灵魂的进展进化是最详尽的。他也同意说，就是对预言下之书对心识属灵灵魂就这些就是这个相互的关系，互相之间的相互作用，就是描述的非常的清晰。
Yeah, no, you're right. This next paper is really, really good because it's got the section 5, the consecration of choice, number 6, the human paradox, and number 7, the adjuster's problem is one of my favorite sections in the whole book.
对，他就提到一些他非常欣赏的，就是下一篇的。我们这111篇还正在我和沈丽还正在搞这个校对。
No, this is really good. I mean, it's hard to read all this because I just want to get right to the Jesus papers now, but it is really important for us to know about all this stuff.
对，他就是非常渴望快一点读下一部分，但是这个像调整者的这些的文章都非常的棒。
Yes, I can tell you guys right now that when we get to the Jesus papers, I won't be making as many comments because it's more like a story. It doesn't need so much interpretation.
对，那读预言下不是读第4部分那个的时候，因为都是故事性的、描述性的，那么我可能就不需要那么多的评论就会读得快一些。
It's very different than the rest of the book.
对，就是第4部分故事叙事性的，就是跟书的其他部分非常的不同。
And it's very, I mean, we may want to discuss some things that Jesus says or does, but it's very easy to follow along and understand the whole thing.
就非常的容易，就是说理解一步一步的。
It's just like reading like a really good novel.
像读一个非常的引人入胜的小说一样。
You don't want to put it down. You want to see what happens next.
对，你就是不想放下，你就想知道下一步接着又发生什么了。Yeah.
So I think everyone's probably nice and tired.
Yeah. 对，大家可能都累了，去休息去吧。
So next week we're back to the now we had daylight savings time.
Yeah, daylight saving ends on the past Sunday.
Yeah, but does that change anything in terms of what time it is in China?
No, only us. In North America, we use that. In China, they don't use it, so it's
Yep.
nothing changed in China.
Yeah, it doesn't change there, but that means if it's 7:30 here, it's different. What time is it in China?
We are so that's we only us in North America. We need to change the time we get on the meeting, so they still get on 7:30 in the evening.
No, because wait, I'm mixed up now. Because